be here. We're going to talk about one of the older tools available to a licensed real estate agent. Gosh, it's been around much longer than Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Matter of fact, the first open house, I looked it up, was 1947 in Levittown, New York. So it goes back a few years. The key to anything is preparation. Let's see if I can get here. Did I do that right?
Rub your finger on the pad.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Open house presents us with really three opportunities. Obviously, to sell the listing. The seller loves to see that happen. For us, it's an opportunity to secure a future buyer. Maybe not for this product, but maybe for another home that might fit their needs better. And we've even had, from our own personal experience, we've actually picked up a few listings by a buyer attending. Well, you think about it, first of all, they're living somewhere, so that's going to end up being a listing. And sometimes it influences them when they come and they see the presentation, and they remember that. So when it comes time to list their house, they come back to you. So it's nice to make the, it's important to make the home look nice for selling it, but it's also, you have to consider the audience that might pay dividends. Let's see. Preparation. Got ahead of myself. Key to everything is preparing, and preparing for an open house is pretty important because obviously you're taking time out of your schedule. You're asking the seller to go see a movie, go have a long Starbucks or something. And the interesting thing is the next slide is even more important, the most important. When someone holds an open house, first thing I do is I put that announcement in HAR, in the Woodlands Online, Trulia, Facebook on our business pages. But it's interesting that 99% of the people that come to open houses, they come because of the signs. I make it a point somewhere in that conversation, dialogue, to ask them, how did you learn about our open house? And it's always saw the signs. So it may sound like a no-brainer, just stick a sign in the Esplanade and we're done. But if you think about it a little bit more, it'll pay dividends. Last Sunday, I held an open house on one of our own listings at the request of the seller, and used the HAR map, kind of get an idea of, okay, where would you place those signs? Number one is obvious because Lake Woodlands, probably in the center median there, so you can catch traffic coming both ways. You might have to do two signs, only because of the way the Esplanades are set up. Number two, you got a couple options there, and I'll explain the reason that we chose the option we did. Number two, you can put it at the stop sign, pointing arrow left. And then, of course, obviously the number three would be at the property itself. We'll cover that in a second. The additional option, depending on how many are conducting the open house, more than anything, determines whether 4 and 5 make sense. Lake Woodlands, I understand, on a 24-hour day, gets about 14,000 cars. By comparison, Woodlands Parkway, which is down where number 5 is, that gets 40,000 a day. And you start calculating how many per hour and so forth. So it's obviously 3 times more traffic. So could you say that it's going to be 3 times more people at the open house? It's hard to tell. Lake Woodlands seems to be where most of us that are residents use to get from point A to point B, whereas Woodlands Parkway, a lot of times, unless you're going someplace in the Woodlands you need to get there quickly, that's a lot of through traffic. You'll see people taking a shortcut 2978 to I-45, that sort of thing. But number 2, we chose a different option. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of the term sign Nazi. This is a little guy from the Parks and Recreation Department that cruises around and picks up your yard signs and offers to sell them back to you for 15 bucks. So we always try to find ways to get around him. So one of the ways is that number 2, let's see. Number 2, the other option is to place that in somebody's front yard. But, you know, you just don't arbitrarily do that. You ask for permission. So we created this little permission request. This person, you can go onto MCAD. I'm sure everybody's familiar with MCAD, how to go in and look up a property and the name of the owners. So you go look, you get the name. It's amazing how many people do not have a landline anymore. So they're not in the interfaith directory, so you just can't pick up the phone and call them. So this is an option. Matter of fact, I got a sample of it here. Create this, put this on their front doorknob. I had a call in an hour, giving us permission. Also, by the way, captured a cell phone number for, you know, future reference. You know, and oh, thank you very much. And by the way, would you like to receive, here's a sample of it, like to receive information on real estate. So, you know, just another little way of prospecting. Okay, this is important. Well, the big difference between those signs, as you can tell, is the height. So if you think about it, you put one of these signs in the Esplanade. The Woodlands has these little ground cover stuff, so by the time you take the short one and stick it in there, the sign is either right at that shrubbery or it's underneath the shrubbery. And that shorter sign also had, with the, I'm sorry, not the sign itself, but the H bracket stake, that has FSBO written all over it. So number one, we don't want to really be perceived as a FSBO in that category. And surprisingly enough, a lot of buyers don't want to go there either. They prefer to deal with kind of arm's length with the seller rather than some individual trying to put the hard sell on them, that sort of thing. So that's a turnoff to a lot of people. The one on the right, that's a 30-inch H, what they call an H stake. And obviously it looks a little more professional. It looks like something a real estate agent would use. You'll notice that those signs are pretty generic. And the reason being is those signs are $2.99 at Home Depot. So you can afford to go through a number of these in the course of an open house. Whereas I think someone that I spoke with had spent the money to buy the really nice Remax signs and put them out there.
They're gone.
They're gone. You know, these things, they're disposable. You know, you just throw them away. And I'm sure the sign Nazi's got a lot of these things, but they're not worth 15 bucks, that's for sure. Little pre-sale there. In today's market, there's people constantly driving through neighborhoods looking to see if there's a new yard sign or sign of somebody moving out. And, oh my God, there's a house on the market type thing. In our personal neighborhood, it's amazing how many people I see cruising through there, and I know that's exactly what they're looking for. And so by putting something this up, these are available at HAR. I think they're like 10 bucks or something. And they have one for Sunday, one for Saturday, and I think there's a generic one where you can kind of plug in any day of the week. But usually 3 to 4 days prior, just kind of trying to build some momentum to come back on Saturday or Sunday. Okay, I didn't get my signs too straight there, but the idea is to not just one sign, but multiple signs, kind of trying to create an event atmosphere. I understand from Dana that there's some 8-foot blow-up balloons, our version of the Mr. Doughboy or something.
There's a closet full of them right next door to us.
That would be great.
So if you want to use some extra cold air balloons for your open houses, just tell me or Dana, we'll grab them out and get them to you.
That would be great. You're just trying to create an atmosphere. Okay. I can't play that because it's in a PDF, but I thought of this. I'd seen this before, and It's actually a YouTube video of a guy with an open house sign, one of these gigantic things, looks like a surfboard, and he's out there flipping it around. And I thought, well, you know, maybe the sign Nazi's driving us to this, because I don't know how much this cost, you know, for somebody to do that. It'd definitely be an attention getter. A couple of hours, I don't know, you know, what would that cost? But
I don't know, but Sayer did something that would kind of.
I have asked about this, and you have to call, I mean, I've asked people on the street, just talk to them. They actually work for a company.
right, I kind of figured it was a company, yeah.
You have to call the company, and they want something more major, like longer commitment. So that wasn't an option for me. What
Hello.
I did at the end is I got a huge sign and just put it on the car.
Okay.
And take that away.
Good idea.
Mine is convertible.
That's great. That's great. But you know, you have to be creative. Thing I don't understand is the township prohibits real estate signs, but we can have those gorgeous pictures of politicians up for months. So fortunately, the mother of one of our township board members is an agent here in the office, and it'd be great if somebody could mention that, gee, isn't it time to bring this up? Because, you know, real estate puts dollars in the economy. Somebody buys a home, they're going to go buy furniture, you know, so it's a win-win for everybody. And we're talking 2 hours. How many months are these political signs up there? And really becomes clutter. So, okay. Most of this you probably have seen. Trying to create an atmosphere, especially in Houston in the hot summer, 72 degrees. You want to encourage people to stick around and have a conversation, and they're not in any big rush to go jump in that hot car. So they'll find an excuse to take another look around. Turning the water feature on, you know, a lot of people will have remotes. But some of the older systems, they'll have the switches outside, and it's best to ask the seller to turn it on, because you wouldn't want to turn it on only to discover, well, gee, that pump was burnt out last week and now you're burning something else out. Music, either through a sound system or their television. Wouldn't recommend the intercom, because most of them sound terrible, plus you're bringing attention to that 30-year-old item in that 20-something-year house. So you might not want to advertise that. Quick preview, if the seller leaves any valuables out, it's probably a good idea to put them up, because you wouldn't want something disappearing on your watch. Believe it or not, I've had more people mention that last item. It's usually women. Pet dishes, litter boxes, just put them, you know, kind of put them out of sight. Try to find a central location in the house to, you know, set up your sign-in sheets, iPad, handouts. You probably need to have both sheets and iPad, because depending on what generation you're talking to, some people feel comfortable with signing in with, you know, some of the iPad apps. Others prefer, you know, the old-fashioned, let me put it on paper. The only downside of that is sometimes you can't read their handwriting as far as getting the email address, but
Greg, have you used the, that app that is on iPad for open house?
no, I haven't. I've looked at a couple of those, and probably shouldn't have gone to the reviews. There's always somebody's sour apples about them, but you know.
I had it on mine for a while, but when I was still doing open houses, they didn't. Some people would, and some people. I'd have both out, but you're right about the handwriting.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem.
Is trying to figure out how to decipher that, and I always thought, well, maybe somebody did it on purpose.
I have used Open Home Pro.
Yeah.
It's an app, and, I mean, they have updated it nicely. You can put a picture up.
Oh, you can now?
Yeah.
Because I took it off. I've been
Oh, wow.
useful.
Yeah, you can have the picture of the house, and then people click next, and it's 4 questions that are asked. The problem is, click skip, you skip actually. So, I mean, you don't have to fill out anything.
Oh, okay.
If you fill out the name, you can skip the number and the email. That's the
So
problem.
they don't have to do it then?
If they know. If they don't
If they
know,
know.
they won't.
Okay, okay.
That's good to know.
Just rub your finger.
Okay. All right. Any questions on any of this? I mean, this is just pretty much. Okay. Did I push the right button?
The down arrow?
Yeah.
Page down.
Okay, now you're going to make me put my glasses on. Okay,
Okay, yeah, page down is right there.
okay. Here we go. Okay, the actual open house. A lot of people are reluctant, even though it says open house, if that front door is closed, which it usually is because of the temperature. They're reluctant to come in. They'll ring the doorbell. And so it's always nice if you're in a position, you know, you kind of see them come up the walk, give them a couple of seconds and, you know, to welcome them in. Obviously kind of want to have a conversation with them, but you don't want to be hovering over their shoulder where they can't communicate between themselves. That's the downside, like accompanied showings. You never really have a conversation with your client because you got the other agent there. So, you know, you say, well, let's wait till we get in the parking lot or the car and have our conversation. Well, you may have forgotten what you were going to talk about. Obviously encourage them. Here's a, pass this around. Here's a handout that we kind of put together. If someone leaves, give them a business card, you give them a flyer on that property. You sometimes wonder how far that, you know, where's it go? Do they keep it? If you try to give them something of value, you're trying to establish rapport with them, you're trying to establish credibility that you are a realtor, you do have knowledge of the market, here's kind of what's happening in this respective price range, here's the other homes that are on the market. Now, some of the, you know, obviously in that price range, if you ran, I forget, all of them in the Woodlands, I think there were like 32, so I just chose 77381 because maybe they wanted to be in that zip code because of proximity, you know, to the freeway, etc. Plus, you know, that reduces your praying cost. And I wouldn't run more than, on an open house, never put more than probably 3 of those together because you figure you're probably going to maybe run into 3 people. Others are going to, as I'll show you, others are clients of other agents. Well, you know, they already have that information, or they should. The advantage of a 2-person hosting is that when people come to open houses, they never come in a nice, orderly fashion. You know, there's never one waiting, kind of like the bank, you know, there's no queue out there waiting for the next teller. They all come in lumps, and then you're trying to figure out, okay, which one, you know, do I start talking to? And then you get talking to somebody only to see that the person that probably has the potential is kind of cruising through the house on their own. So if you can do it with a 2-person thing, maybe take turns, you know, kind of, okay, the next person up gets the next person, probably stand a better chance. The other thing is, every 30 minutes you're going to need to check on the status of your signs and the esplanades. It seems like 2 o'clock seems to be the magic number. He makes a pass through the neighborhoods or down the main streets, and then he'll come back around 2:30 or 3. And but if you can do it like every 30 minutes, just, you know, somebody take off real quick, kind of cruise and make sure the signs are there. Trust me, you'll know when the signs are gone. The traffic will stop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's toast.
So Greg, do you put up new signs?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't go without plenty of signs. You figure you might have to replace those 2, maybe 3 times.
Usually the park ranger.
I think it is,
They
yeah.
ride around in those things with the cart
Mhm.
content, and I had actually been up there when they went to take it, and I tried to get it back, and they've already put it in, and the guy will say, oh, you have to pay me. Well, I'm not going to pay you because it's not worth what you want, but I mean, they're right there, and it is usually the park ranger.
Yep. And one thing I noticed they started doing is instead of taking the sign with the stake, they're just taking the sign.
Really?
They'll leave the stake in the, you know, where the little neighborhood thing is, which is great.
I thought it flew away because of that. I was like,
Yep. It blew away okay.
it was windy that day, and I was like, dang, he got me.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think putting the open houses up at the home finding center adds to them knowing where they should take the sign?
I don't know if those guys really take the time to do that.
I wouldn't think so, but I wondered.
Yeah, I wondered that too. You did that for a while, and then we realized, well, here we are, 99% of the people finding us with a sign, not the home finders. I only remember one person ever coming through that had actually found these things on Trulia, and he had a whole list of things, which shocked me. But, you know, he was doing the open house tour, and he probably eventually bought a house, but that was only one. Gosh, that's a small number.
Grant, is it just in the Woodlands that there's the sign issue?
Yes.
Yeah.
You get outside the Woodlands, and gosh, it's a totally another world. But just the Woodlands. It's some signed ordinance.
Going back to creative ways to have your signs, I had a Coldwell Banker open house where they did not allow signs out in this community. And I took this picture and it went viral. This was about 5 years ago. And I thought, how did this wife get her husband to do that? She took 2 of her signs and put straps over the arms so he was sandwiched. And he was holding the small sign and pointing. And I mean, I've remembered it for 5 years, you know. And I mean, I was wondering, like a teenager or someone.
Oh, that'd be great. High school.
We have a son who's will be home from college. He would probably do it.
Oh, he would do
He
it.
would do it.
And it's 95 degrees.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Wow, that'd be great.
Well, I can guarantee you that Greg or my husband is going to be doing it right.
He's really tall.
That's right. You need a basketball player, probably, right? But that's a good. You know, I mean, that's another creative way. I mean, a couple of hours, and it's always on the weekends.
Go to the park where you take your kid.
If they took one of mine, they would bring him back. Sorry, Leslie.
I won't tell her.
Okay. This is just that little thing I was passing around. I chose Leslie to put her photo on there, make her feel good. But we found it to be a good, effective tool. People actually hang on to those things. And
Greg, do you have that in a PDF that you can send to me?
absolutely.
So what I'll do after class is I will send this presentation and that document to everybody via email. And if you got the email announcement about this class, you'll get this, okay? But if you did not get it and you heard about this class from somebody else, I need your email address, okay? So just make sure I have it before you leave. Thank you.
A lot of the market data you can get on HAR. I think they have something called Market Insights. You can go in and customize. I'm not sure how far down you can drill, maybe down to the zip code. But you're just trying to, you know, put some information in their hands to establish yourself as someone that's knowledgeable in the marketplace. So there's, I think RPR might be another one. I don't know if anyone's experimented with that. And I think Raul or the broker always has access to a lot more information than we do as agents. So.
Greg has those printouts from Remax.
Oh, that's right.
And she'll give them to you anytime you want or email them to you. And they're on our percentage in the Woodlands and.
Oh, our #1 market share position.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes, and there's 2 or 3 different ones, Area 15 and on Spring, and I know she has given them to me to put in I use them in my presentation packages.
Right.
And she keeps them up to date. And just let her know, and she'll give them any of these things to us. They're available to us.
Yeah, Dana and I are welcome. We're happy to do that for you. You also have them available to you directly through the RE/MAX of Texas website under the Resources tab. Anywhere where we have #1 market share, there are bar charts that you can print. Let me know. I'll be glad to show you if you need help finding it.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Okay, from the seller perspective, this is critical. You know, we're asking them to give up their home for a couple of hours. They obviously want to sell their home, so they want to get some feedback. And this particular one I submitted this last Sunday, probably about an hour after we finished the open house. So we had 6 couples, 2 of which already had agents, 1 in our office, 1 with Gary Green. One that was what I call the speed visitor. Man, they were in and out. But I think what it was, this home needs some updates, and they probably were looking for something that was move-in ready and updated, and you know, they were in and out. But that I didn't get a chance to visit with them because I was with couple #1. So Jackie ought to buy me a Starbucks. So anyway, but we did. You think about it, a couple 3, 4, and 5. Pick those up as not only potential buyers, but also as potential listings because they're living in the Woodlands. So total listings, 6 transactions in a 2-hour time frame. So I guess that's the way you have to look at it. You know, your time is worth X number of dollars, and as long as you're seeing some sort of return on it, then it's time well spent.
Did your signs get taken last weekend?
I'm sorry?
Did any of your signs get
Oh, yes. Yeah, I went through a couple of sets. And because I was doing it on my own, I only went to sign 1, 2, and 3, so I only had to replace number 1, but I had to lock I had to wait till the one visitor left, lock the property, run up to the front, replace the sign, and come back. So it would have been so much easier, but everyone was busy.
Greg, are you writing the address on those signs, or are you just putting them?
No, just doing that so that way I can recycle them on the next one, those that are left over. And Home Depot loves me. I usually go and buy a dozen of these things, so I know if they don't use them this Sunday, then I'll use them next Sunday.
I do have a rider, a permanent rider, that I can put in the top of my signs. I don't know, we had it a long time ago. And it says open Sunday, and it has the time on it. So you can take out your other rider if you want on the top, depending on the type of sign you have.
Right,
okay?
right.
And if
How
you
many
got
riders?
Enough, yeah, if you got enough for a rider on the top and the bottom, I put that one in. And that works, but you know, they aren't that expensive, because they can't take those, they're on your sign.
No, no, they can't. Well, as long as it's on someone's property other than the Woodlands property, you're okay. These are some listings that we have coming up that probably would be potentials for open house, in addition to the one that I just hosted, and I believe you've hosted before. Castle Rocks down in Ponderosa Forest will be listing that this weekend. They're doing paint. Willowher will be coming up probably a couple of weeks. Villa Canyon. We have one we're going to be putting on tomorrow that's going to be Tanager Trail, which Cochrane's Crossing probably should be pretty decent. Something about the philosophy of where the home's located. In today's market, well, before when there were a lot of properties, it didn't make sense to go beyond about 3 signs because they would lose interest if they had to, you know, go through the, but today you probably can push it out to 5. So think about where the home is located in the neighborhood relative to whatever busy street you're going to target. Because if it takes 7, 8 signs to get them there, they're probably going to lose interest. Somebody's going to get hungry. The kids have got to go to the bathroom. You know, something's going to happen and they're never going to make it. So just, you know, I know that sometimes that doesn't work out for every listing, but it's just a reality. I saw where June the 5th is my day to talk about some success stories, and I'm sure that there is a grande Starbucks for the winner that can attract the largest audience. So I'm going to make my pitch now, since Dean's not here. Okay.
Well, let me explain. I understand what you're talking about. Let me explain.
Okay.
In June, in the training room, in this room, we're going to do something different. In this Thursday, 10 o'clock lead generation, lead conversion time, we're going to have 4 of our top agents speak, 1 a week for 4 weeks. And all of them are speaking on the exact same subject. My top strategies and suggestions for growing your business now. Greg is going to be our lead-off speaker on June 5th. And he's going to be followed by Dean Melton, Robin Kitzmiller, and then week 4 is still open. I've got a couple invitations out. But have you enjoyed today's class?
Yes.
Yes.
Would you be interested in learning his strategies for things other than open houses? Okay, that's what that's about.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought everyone knew, but
No, that's,
okay. Well, we're going to talk about some of the past, how Michele started in the business and doubled her sales every year for the first 10 years. Some of the strategies, techniques we use, some are still viable. Some have kind of gone away for various reasons. We're going to talk about kind of where things are today, some of the things that we do. And Frank doesn't know about this, but June 5th, we're going to talk about some things that are really stepping off the curb that will be kind of interesting concepts to take a look at that one has been done not well. A couple of the others have never been tried. So just something that we're going to talk about, and we're going to obviously ask some input from management. So anyway, June 5th. Any other questions about the open house? Or
Do you ever put flyers out to the neighbors or invite the neighbors to the open house?
we've actually done some postcards to the neighborhoods. Just realizing that obviously someone's not gonna in the neighborhood may not be moving, but like couple number one, they moved into the neighborhood and they're looking for a place for their daughter, so they can be close to the grandkids. So that worked out well. Or they may have a friend that they would like to have, co-worker, family member, that sort of thing.
Because I've done that in the past, and I like to create a feeding frenzy where it looks like everybody's rushing to the house.
Oh, absolutely.
They got to buy it today.
Absolutely.
But there's a downside to it. Sometimes neighbors have the same floor plan, and they want to tell, oh, I don't like the way this looks. So you got all these
Right.
eager people, and then you got the deal killers.
Right.
I just had to kick 2 deal killers out one time.
That's where your other team member takes that person in a backyard or in the master bedroom closet or something.
Do you have a certain point after listing that you like to do open houses, or do you do them like really early in the listing?
We try to do them as early, it's really up to the seller. Some sellers really believe in open houses. Others, they don't want the open houses. They don't want to give up that time, during the weekend, or they don't see the merit. But as soon as we're able to, to schedule an open house, it'd be great. And, just let us know. I mean, most of them that are receptive, they're receptive to, either Saturday or Sunday. In some cases, Saturday and Sunday. The one in Augusta Pines, he was receptive for every day of the week, you name it, because there was no children to deal with or kind of be concerned about. So that way they were available all the time.
I have a question. Do you find one particular time or day that's better than the other?
It depends on the time of the year. You don't want to do it during football season. I mean, you'll get the wife, but then
She's got to have her husband.
right, she's going to have to bring him back, and then the challenge is scheduling all of that. But in that case, probably Saturday. But
Because
I've seen.
I know Sundays, I've learned, coming from California, Sunday morning was always a really good time to do it, like 10 to 1. Or
Right.
I noticed people go to church, and then right after church here, they're going to go shopping or they're going to go to lunch.
Right.
So I don't see any traffic at all happening at that time.
I think you're right. It seems like more ones I've seen are more in the afternoons, especially on Sunday. One's probably the earliest. I think even the new construction builders have figured that out, because like on Sunday, none of those models or none of the sales offices are open until Sunday, I think, right, Betty?
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock, yeah.
Well, usually they're open at 10.
So,
Then if you're in a contract, but normally the models aren't open until noon.
right. So, they're going to take every opportunity to get somebody in those places. So, but yeah, I wouldn't go any further than maybe 4 in the afternoon. Then you start getting into people planning, for in the evening, or they've got something else going on. So the window was probably 1 to 4, and you could choose to do it 1 to 3, 2 to 4, 1 to 4. Kind of depending on what you feel like.
So Greg, if they would like to volunteer to hold some of yours open, how would they indicate?
Just, just let me know. Once these become active, just go in and, take a look and see if it looks like something interesting that, you'd like to hold open, and let me know what the dates are so I can run that by the seller and make sure that's okay, and we'll get it scheduled. And so that, not a problem. We normally don't hold listings on our own, open house on our own listings, because buyers today are much more savvy than they were. They realize that if you're there and you represent the listing agent, well, obviously you represent the seller, and so they'll talk to you, but it's more difficult to have a meaningful conversation. It's best to have that third party involved, another agent, and it just seems to be, like here we we picked up 3 buyers, but not for that property. Now, if there'd have been someone that had been interested in that property, they probably would have come in, taken a look, and then moved on. We wouldn't have been able to capture them because they know that, there's kind of, even though legally we can do it, it's kind of an awkward situation representing both the buyer and seller. So
Greg, just to clarify, if they were to hold one of your homes open and they picked up a buyer prospect, that would be their client?
absolutely, absolutely, that's your client. I've even heard some stories about some listing agents charging a fee or a referral. I mean, I never heard of such a thing, but anyway, no, we don't do that. Whatever people that you meet, they're yours.
And what's your feeling about office, I want to call it officing in one of your vacant houses where, and I would say maybe 2 people for this, where you just bring your laptops, you have your things you want to do, but you've got your signs out anytime, let's say like an unusual time, balloons, the whole deal, but instead of working in the office, you're sitting in an open house doing your things.
I don't know, I can't imagine the seller. Matter of fact, this Castle Rock is going to be vacant. It's already vacant. So, I couldn't imagine anybody objecting to someone kind of setting up shop. Actually, we sold our personal home, the first one when we moved up here, doing exactly that, because I wasn't in real estate then, but I officed out of the home, so we just set it up like, between 8 and 5 or whatever, come on by. Come in and take a look, and sold it. So, usually, you're right, usually it requires a vacant property to, most people aren't going to give up their home every day.
Right.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you. I'm going to touch that.